Magazines were like social media before it ever existed. Going viral was the equivalent of being chosen to be featured on the cover. And most people almost never threw away their magazines either. You kept it in a box or magazine rack. You always wanted to refer back to that magazine article you liked, or the ones that had your favorites on the cover or had a featured story. Black magazines emerged as powerful influencers, shaping perceptions, celebrating cultural richness, and providing a platform for voices that had long been underrepresented. Several iconic publications left a mark and contributed significantly to Black culture. Let's take a trip down memory lane as we dive into a brief history of Black magazines. Spoiler alert! It's not just about the glossy pages, it's about a cultural revolution. Alright, picture this. 1945, Chicago. John H. Johnson had this idea. He's like, what if we had Life magazine, but make it black and extra cool? And boom, just like that, Ebony magazine was born, and it was an instant hit. Ebony magazine was a monthly magazine geared towards middle-class African American readers, and initially it was all about spotlighting Black entertainers and athletes, but it eventually covered Black achievements of all sorts. Ebony had massive success, and it was the first Black-centered magazine to be nationally circulated. I also want to mention that Ebony wasn't Johnson's only publication. Before Ebony, he published the Negro Digest in 1942. It was similar to Reader's Digest, but with the focus being on publishing positive stories about the African American community. Johnson's next venture leads us to our next magazine we will highlight. After the success of Ebony, he then began publishing Jet magazine. Its first cover was released November 1st, 1951. Jet was considered the weekly Negro news magazine. Jet, like many other Black magazines, had some memorable moments. Y'all remember Jet Beauty of the Week? Come on, y'all. We all remember page 43. Alright, if you're going to act like you don't remember, let me refresh you. So page 43 was where Jet showcased Black beauties in bathing suits. They could be college students, nurses, teachers, actors, or just everyday women. In addition to that, Jet had some really historical moments too. The magazine published raw photos of a badly beaten and deceased Emmett Till. There was an Emmett Till collection of 6 covers from 1955 till 1960 that included articles and photos of Till. Many historians have pointed to the murder of Emmett Till of playing a large part in what helped to kick off the civil rights movement. It's even been reported that Rosa Parks recalled thinking about going to the back of the bus, but said she couldn't do it after thinking about Emmett Till. Her refusing to give up her seat happened about 3 months after Emmett Till's death. Jet and Ebony magazine highlighting the story drew lots of national attention and made people stop and be forced to pay attention to the injustices Black people were facing. The next magazine we will visit is Essence. Essence magazine was started in 1968 and was originally named Sapphire magazine. The founders wanted the title to represent the gem-like beauty and resilience of Black women. But here's the tea, y'all. The name was changed to Essence so not to associate the magazine with the sapphire stereotype. The sapphire trope is one that paints Black women as emasculating, loud, aggressive, angry, stubborn, and unfeminine. So I think changing the name from Sapphire magazine to Essence magazine was definitely a good call on their part. We can think about magazines like Ebony and Essence as the OGs of cool. So back in the day, Ebony and Essence were like the cool kids on the block. And they didn't just talk about culture, they were the culture. And they celebrated achievements and showcased style. Next up is Vibe magazine. So we can think about Vibe magazine as being where hip-hop happened. Vibe magazine was co-founded by Quincy Jones in 1993. It featured hip-hop and R&B artists. Some notable moments for Vibe include the TLC cover with the group wearing firefighter suits. Now, this was a big deal at that time because it was after Left Eye infamously set fire to her ex's home. Another big moment was when Vibe was the first publication to confirm rumors of R. Kelly's marriage to an underage Aaliyah. In addition to that, they were also able to get an interview with Tupac Shakur while he was incarcerated. Y'all, this was the interview where Tupac insinuated that Puffy, Andre Harrell, and Biggie were to blame for him being shot previously at the studio. Throughout the years, there have been many magazines geared towards black audiences. So we'll just mention a few. There's so many, I just want to run down a quick list. Remember, this is a short history. So we got Hype Hair. Hype Hair was a beauty magazine that came out in 1992. And you can find this along with other magazines at your local beauty shops throughout the 90s and the 2000s. We also had Right On that came out in 1971. This was geared towards teenagers and focused on upcoming groups and had exclusives on groups such as the Jackson 5. We also had Word Up, which came out in 1987 that featured upcoming hip-hop and R&B artists. Now, I believe Word Up is a spinoff of Right On. We also had Black Beat, came out in 1983. A Black Culture and Celebrity News magazine. We had Double XL, which is a hip-hop magazine that came out in 97. BET's Heart and Soul. That was a lifestyle magazine, and it was initially published in 1993. We had Source magazine. Source was started in 1988, and it focused on hip-hop and R&B acts that contributed to hip-hop culture. From the magazine came their annual awards called the Source Award. The first live Source Hip Hop Awards aired in 1994, and the Source Awards definitely had their fair share of drama. Let's get into one famous incident. So in 95, after Death Row Records CEO Suge Knight accepted an award, Suge threw shots at Puffy. So what he said was, he was inviting all aspiring artists to come to Death Row if they didn't want the executive producers and everyone in the songs dancing all in the videos. And many people believe this comment to be one that led to more division between Bad Boy Records and Death Row, and just that East Coast, West Coast beef that was going on at that time.
Any artist out there want to be an artist and want to stay a star, don't want to have to worry about the executive producer trying to be all in the video, all on the record, dancing. Come to Death Row.
Then we had Blaze magazine. Came out in 98, and Blaze is a spinoff of Vibe magazine. We had Black Issues book review. Came out in 1989. This focused on black authors and book reviews. We had Honey magazine, Emerge magazine, Savoy magazine, YSB magazine. YSB magazine stands for Young Sisters and Brothers. It came out in 1991. It was a blend of fashion and music, but they did focus on some hard-hitting stories about drugs and the AIDS epidemic. We also had Urban Profile magazine, which was a mix of social, political, and economic content. This was from the perspective of young men and women. So many of these magazines have completely ended, or at least the print publication has stopped. And some of them are available just in digital form only, or at least they've made some sort of attempt at a comeback or rebrand. The 1800s had several newspapers, and the Freedom's Journal was the first black-owned newspaper in the U.S. and was started about 4 months before slavery was abolished in New York. There was also the Colored American, as well as 3 newspapers started by Frederick Douglass. Most of the black newspapers then were dedicated to ending slavery, and while black newspapers were popular in the 1800s, black magazines became popular in the 1900s. Colored American magazine was started in 1900. This magazine provided many jobs to middle and upper class African Americans who escaped or were freed from slavery. It covered topics ranging from business, the arts, education, medicine, and politics. Black publications played a huge role in the civil rights movement. They covered breaking events across the country as the movement developed. During the 2000s, black publications were able to continue their commitment for the civil rights of black people, but they began to have more freedom to discuss a variety of topics. And the magazines gave people a platform to share stories and advice from their viewpoints. The publications such as Ebony allow African Americans to create their own narrative and be fully represented in a safe space. The covers feature beautiful black men and women and included stories of middle and upper class black families living in nicely decorated homes. They were vacationing and just living their normal lives. Let's get into advertising. Now, advertising to a black audience was also a big deal. In 1955, Coca-Cola chose Mary Alexander to be their first African-American model. Her campaign was run in Ebony magazine. Now, Johnson, the creator of Ebony magazine, had argued that black audiences would actually benefit from seeing, and they would buy product from a model who looked like them. These magazines forever changed the popular representation of African Americans and helped society see blacks as they saw themselves. Black people saw themselves as strong, hardworking, educated, talented, and worthy of respect and equality. They pushed cultural norms by featuring things such as interracial marriages, and they challenged widespread views of blackness in America. These magazines had a profound impact on shaping cultural identity and challenging stereotypes. They provided a space for nuanced discussions on issues ranging from racial equality to the representation of black voices in the media. The vibrant and diverse content reflected the energy of the culture and contributed a sense of pride and unity within the African American community. As we look back, the legacy of these black magazines remains evident in the continued celebration of black culture, fashion, and empowerment. These publications not only chronicled the times, but also played a crucial role in shaping the narrative of a community, asserting its presence and influence on a global stage. Fast forward to today, and the legacy lives on. Black magazines aren't just pages, they're blueprints of a cultural revolution. And they remind us to be bold, be proud, and be ourselves. Thanks for watching. Maybe down in the comments, I want you to share your favorite black magazine memories. And I'll talk to y'all next video. Bye-bye.